have gotten rid of all the parasites, all the bacteria, all the heavy metals, plasticizers, solvents, everything you have cleaned up in the first week. But it's all still there in the tumors.
Is it your suggestion then that you've already stopped the malignancy so the cancer can't now kill you?
Oh, we do that in the first day.
In the first day?
Yes, we just give a dose, a large dose of green black walnut hull.
And what does that do?
That kills the stages, larval stages of the fasciolopsis parasite called the intestinal fluke.
And that's the only single thing that causes malignancy?
That is the only thing that I have found so far over 5 years of studying possibly 2,000 to 3,000 patients.
All cancer?
Yes.
So
there may be other things, and other scientists can search for them, but I haven't found them.
Why have no other researchers found this?
They haven't looked.
So we've stopped the malignancy, we're in the second week, and now you're attacking the tumor. What specific nutritional supplements do you like to do that with?
Well, we have only found one way of reliably popping open the tumors. And of course, we didn't want to do it too soon. If the body is not ready, if the liver isn't ready to take that huge dose of aflatoxin and azodie that's going to come out of those tumors, you have done a lot of damage. The patient may die from the toxicity of opening the tumors.
Now, these tumors were caused by the aflatoxin in the dye that we talked about earlier.
And other things, right.
So over a lifetime, this is accumulated and we've got tumors.
Right. How it forms, I've discussed somewhat in the book. We have a fairly good insight on how it actually forms into a tumor. But regardless, once you have a toxic collection, it's like having garbage piles in your house safely closed. Now, if you need to clean up the house, are you going to just open those garbage dumps? No. That could make a much worse mess than you had before.
Let's talk about the azodie before we continue. Where do you get azodie?
Azodyes used to be used as food colors in the past.
And what products?
Very many products. For instance, margarine. Yes, they used to use an azodie called diaminoazobenzene, DAB for short.
Still
DAB.
today?
Oh, no. No. Their carcinogenic potential was recognized by the 50s and even early. And legislation was passed not allowing azodyes in hardly any food, at least not the carcinogenic azodyes. Some dyes are still allowed, maybe 2 or 3, in jelly beans, Jell-O, of course, candies, and many other connections.
So if they outlawed it in the 50s, how are we seeing cancer today, and tumors especially today?
That is a very puzzling question. It certainly puzzled me, and must puzzle anybody who is told that very fact. It comes in through pollution of the manufacturing process. A manufacturing process just cannot be that careful. Now, I believe that the actual route of pollution is regular chlorine bleach, because I find sodium hypochlorite in all foods and materials that have azodie pollution. But we do not have the proof for that. And we have tried to find a way of testing it, but there are no labs that I was able to find that could test for these azodies at any level. They're not accustomed to looking for azodies in foods because they're assumed not to exist.
Does your syncrometer find azodies?
Oh, yes.
So that's
I have a set of 18. And I find that they all coexist, especially the 2 very, very damaging ones that are DAB that I mentioned to you, and another one called Sudan Black Bee. The reason I consider these the most damaging is because they're the last to leave when we draw them out of your body. And when they leave, when the DAB is out of your body, as testing with the syncrometer, the alkaline phosphatase level drops to normal in your blood test. Very many people die of a high alkaline phosphatase level.
So this is
It attacks their bones.
This is an important marker for you when you're looking at cancer patients.
Oh, yes. And the other dye, Sudan Black B, when we get that one out, and it takes longer because it's right inside the nucleus, and it's very hard to pull out.
Where do you find Sudan Black B?
Along with the other azo dyes, polluting everything that's on the market that's processed.
So the outlook looks bleak, but perhaps you could give us a list of healthy products that we can choose in the book.
I have listed a lot of healthy products, and how to choose is perhaps easier for the public.
Yeah, I came across Dr. Clark about 4 years ago, and I realized that it's really important that this knowledge is being used and applied so that people are really getting better. So I started the Dr. Clark Research Association, and I'm promoting Dr. Clark in seminars, in lectures, and we're also about to set up a clinic in Switzerland so that we can apply her protocol. We have, especially in Germany and in Switzerland, a lot of therapists in the alternative medical field who are using it, plus a lot of medical doctors as well. Especially in Italy, we see the trend that medical doctors are using these therapies.
What kind of results are you getting with treating cancer?
Since I work so closely with a lot of therapists, I can see results almost every day. Not all of them about cancer, but incredible cases like people who have only days to go and they get well.
Now, I know you're working on coming up with body care chemicals specifically to help us get better. Skin lotions and even toothpaste and hair dye. That's interesting to me because your hair is not the traditional color. What are you using for your hair dye?
I'm doing experiments on hair dyes, and that's why you see it purple on one day, slate on another day, more blue on another day, and maybe more red on another day. I'm trying to develop safe hair dyes because I consider it such a tragedy that all the hair dyes on the market have azo dyes in them. Perhaps even legitimately, because it isn't controlled by the FDA.
So this could be a huge source of cancer problem.
A very huge source. Now you might think, well, the hair is growing out of you. How could that, penetrate? It does. As soon as you've hair dyed, we see the dyes in the scalp, the fat of the scalp. The dye is fat soluble. It goes right into the fat of the scalp, and there it sits as a reservoir for about 6 weeks. By then you're doing it again. And from there, the dye has to be relocated to the liver, and then it goes to your tumors and your other problem organs. And there's no reason that couldn't be easily cleaned up. So that's been one of my dedications, to find a safe hair dye. And this happens to be a Dahlia black henna.
In your suggestion of cleaning up the environment in the home, how do you suggest we clean up the environment in our personal care products?
Don't use them. You can't clean them up. They're all polluted. From toothpaste to shampoo, you name it, it's all polluted. That's why the first thing we do, and in fact on the day one of our 21-day program, you throw away, you don't just set aside because you'll never use it again. You just throw away all your products for your skin, your hair, whatever.
Why do we have to throw away those products?
They're all polluted. Most of them have isopropyl alcohol in them and azo dyes, and they also have heavy metal pollution. It's shocking.
Fantastic. One more question. In your book, Cure to Cancer, you specifically talk about isopropyl alcohol, which we also know to be rubbing alcohol.
Yes.
How is it possible that something so toxic is being used in such a wide variety of commercial products, from our shampoo to our hair conditioners to our skincare products and to even toothpaste?
And without even noticing that it's doing anything, right?
Yes.
We've been using it probably for 50 years, maybe more. I remember my father using it, buying a bottle of it as part of an aftershave. I think that its toxicity is so subtle because it causes mutations. I discovered the mutations with a synchrometer. It forms isopropyl complexes with our nucleic acids. I don't know if anyone has looked for them, but the names for the compounds are very long, so I don't want to bore you with them. And it also combines with our vitamin C, isopropyl ascorbate. So perhaps, and this of course should get some good biochemical attention from regular biochemistry, perhaps isopropyl alcohol depletes your system of ascorbic acid, vitamin C.
With relationship to other disease, you've covered that in your other books. Where do you see allergies fitting into all of this?
It's a very important disorder that we have. Liver dysfunction. It's a loose concept because we all have a small degree of liver dysfunction. But the prevalence of allergies now, and especially what we call environmentally sensitive people or multiple allergies, that is very significant. It should be as a bugle call to us. Hey, look, something is happening to your liver. The liver can no longer detoxify a large number of chemicals that you are getting into you, and you better not do that.
Allergy, we could say, is a kind of a civilization sickness. We read a lot of clinic reports that Indians in the jungle or somewhere don't have any allergies. And so it is very clear that civilization brings allergy with it. And the experience we have is that people start allergies with 1 or 2 allergies, and sometimes it's not that harmful. But after years go by, which means that parasites can develop, they can have more toxins in the body, then they develop more and more allergies.
It's very interesting that in Europe there's a high acceptance for natural and herbal remedies. More and more people are trying to get well on a natural way because they see the limits of the highly toxic chemical treatments that we see.
What other diseases are you seeing cured?
We see very fast cures in diabetes. We see people get negative with HIV. And basically on very simple things. I had a wart myself behind the ear. I zapped and it fell off.
You have an interesting treatment that you suggest in your book called the liver flush. And what is the relationship with the liver flush and what we're talking about here for purging the body of bacteria?
It does purge the body of bacteria very nicely. I don't incorporate it in the 21-day program because the patients are too sick to be going through a liver flush. They can do that after they get a little better. But in the book Cure for Cancers, which is for earlier cancer stages, and the other books where people are just ill of other diseases, cleaning the liver is probably the most effective thing they can do to get immediate relief of many pains and many problems, say a digestion problem. Pain in the shoulder is very, very typically improved the very next day.
Did you invent this liver flush?
No, I didn't. I only experimented with it repeatedly to develop something that was reliable so that if anybody did it, say 100 people, at least 99 of them would get stones out.
Now you say stones. I mean pebbles like we see on the beach?
Sometimes they're pebbles like you see on the beach, small, gray, very hard rocks. But most of the time they're larger, green-colored, roundish objects, the size of a bean or a pea or a lima bean, and sometimes much, much larger.
Could we see these with an ultrasound or an MRI or an X-ray?
No, you can't because they don't have that much density difference from your tissue. To be able to see something, say on X-ray, it would have to be calcified, and on an ultrasound it would or a scan, it would have to have quite a density difference, and it doesn't. It's really just made of cholesterol crystals, garbage, and mush.